It is Baby Metal. They aren't so young anymore, but they are doing a concert inside, I guess, some sort of venue where there won't be any people for the whole coronavirus thing.
Yeah. That may well become common.
I hope not. No, please no.
Yeah.
Please no. That is not.
I don't know. I like the idea of simulcast concerts. I don't like the idea of them being the only thing, but I think they would be a good additional thing. If people, found a way to, you send them a little bit of Bitcoin and you get to see the live stream of the concert that they're doing with or without. So basically pay-per-view for live shows.
That makes sense. If you're adding to a thing rather than taking away, if that's an additional option.
Exactly. Adding an option is always good.
Right.
At worst, it's an option nobody wants and nobody buys it.
Yeah, and there are people who probably can't afford a full-on, full-bore concert ticket because a lot of acts are not cheap. Even the cheap seats aren't that cheap at certain acts.
Or travel to California or wherever.
Or wherever.
Or the Virgin Islands.
Or maybe I just don't want to go to Boston.
Held.
I mean, it's only 2 hours to Boston, but maybe I don't want to go there.
Yeah, or maybe I'm immunocompromised and I shouldn't be going out, even if it's not necessary for everybody. There are people who should be hiding from this virus. I'm just not one of them.
Yeah, and I think that most people aren't one of them. I think there's a very select group of people that probably should be acting with caution, and for the most part, people should take it easy. I mean,
it's pretty easy to tell who that group is. You look at the people who have been tested with the disease. 2% of them died. Identify that 2%. And those are the people that need to hide. The people who are going to die. And
many of whom would die anyway because they already had some, pre-existing condition. They were just talking tonight on Free Talk Live from the Marianas about the 2 people who've died so far in the Marianas, and both of them were, pretty much on life support. I mean, they weren't...
Yeah, they were on life support already, and then they got the coronavirus. Right. Yeah, that's going to fuck you up.
And either the coronavirus finished them off or they just died anyway and they got chalked up to being coronavirus.
The proximate cause of my wife's death was actually a yeast infection.
Oh, no.
But not a vaginal yeast infection. In the process of giving her the many injections that she received and the chemotherapy, some yeast was probably on a needle and got injected into her bloodstream. So, so she had it. Now, that kind of thing, that's not an uncommon thing. It's something your body will normally just say, oh, yeah, screw that, fuck it. Kill it off, not think twice. But her body had been beat down for a year and a half, and it was... So that was the thing, and really it was her choice because that was the thing that made her say, no, I'm not going back into the hospital, I'm going into hospice.
Wow.
And so that's... Well,
let's talk about a real upper.
All right. Now let's move on to something more cheerful.
You've spent a lot of time in Michigan.
That's not necessarily what I'd call an upper.
Wait till you hear what the governor has been doing most recently. I don't know if you've been paying attention.
Fuck that bitch.
Well, don't. Actually, don't. I don't think she deserves it. The stay home, stay safe.
You'd have to pull her hair.
Who knows what this bitch is into? Some government bitch.
No, I'm just saying to, make up for giving her the sacks.
The stay home, stay safe executive order for Michigan has been extended through the end of April. This comes after more than 21,000 cases of COVID-19 and more than 1,000 deaths have been reported in the state. The initial stay-at-home order, by the way, the story from upnorthlive.com, was only effective through April 13th. Now it's effective through the end of the month, and it's gotten more stringent. Like the prior order, gatherings and travel are limited, and all workers who are not so-called necessary to sustain or protect life are required to stay home. The governor, whose name is Whitmer, Gretchen Whitmer, says, quote, Michigan has the third highest number of COVID-19 cases in the country, and we're still on the upswing.
And has the largest lockdown, one of the most strict ones, along with New York and California. And there are biologists out there and medical people saying that that's why.
That the lockdown is actually making things worse.
Exactly, because the thing is, if you're getting exposed to everybody, okay, you're going to be exposed to people who, like, they got exposed to this stuff yesterday, so, and it takes like 3 weeks to catch, you know, so that's how long it takes to build up in your bloodstream enough to be harmful. Okay. Right. At some point during that 3 weeks, you become contagious because your viral load has passed a particular point. Okay. So the thing is, if you come in contact with the guy who passed that point yesterday, he's got the lowest possible viral load in order to communicate the disease. Okay, and that means you get a few of these viruses, but only a few. It's not an invasion force. It's like a small squad that got shipwrecked.
Interesting.
Okay?
I didn't know that made a difference.
So your body's gonna fight it off
more effectively.
More effectively, and that's exactly how vaccines are supposed to work. Yeah. You inject a weakened strain or a weak contingent, and that causes your body to learn how to fight it without having to without being overwhelmed before it learns.
So what is that? Okay, I get what you're saying there, but how would the people staying home become more susceptible to a harder infection?
Because they're going to be less likely. There's going to be fewer mild infections, and that means there's going to be fewer carriers. The people who are going to get it are going to be those most susceptible. You know, and so you're not going to tend to encounter as many people who have it at all, because we're flattening the curve. We're postponing some people getting sick. That's the whole point of the thing. So, and I don't claim to understand the math, and I can't sign off on it. I'm parroting what other people have said. So you know, I don't give medical advice.
Good point.
But I will say, look up the guy who invented email. Apparently thereafter, he's an interesting guy. I'm pretty sure he's a libertarian. He grew up as an untouchable in India, and he said that's the source of his interest in politics, because, you know, obviously from this guy's success, the untouchables are just as smart as everybody else there.
Which class is that, or which caste are the untouchables in India?
Well, they're what they sound like. They're the people that you're supposed to spit on.
I see. So they're like the lowest caste.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And so, but this guy, he invented email at the age of like 14. You know, I mean, really invented the email system that's in use to this day with small modifications. And then he apparently became a doctor, and he's now being interviewed on some shows that are being done by people who question it. And he says that basically the epidemic will never end until after social distancing ends.
Well, the tyranny will never end, and that's certainly what they want, right? They want to continue cracking down. And let me give you more about Michigan. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
So we already know the things they've been doing, right? So what are they going to do now? Well, she says we must continue to do everything we can to slow the spread and protect our families. She said further, data shows that most Michiganders are doing their part by staying home and staying safe. And by the way, this mentality really bugs me. The idea that
it's sanctimonious, isn't it?
Well, sanctimony,
that's the word that springs to mind.
There's that, but also this whole idea that safety is the prime value, that safety is what everyone should be organizing their lives around, when in fact that is, to me, like the counter to what should be true. People need to learn to take risks in order to have success in life, in order to enjoy life. And unless you enjoy being told what to do by some strange woman, hundreds of miles away, unless you enjoy that. I mean, some people may be into that. In which case, I say,
but
go
they
ahead.
should pay her privately and call her Mr. Spanks-a-lot.
Exactly.
I stole that from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Right. We actually had a long time ago, like more than a decade ago, we had a dominatrix on the show from our Indianapolis affiliate, and it was really just a fascinating interview.
Wow.
We got in, and we had her on for more than an hour, just getting into the deep end of what it's like to be in that business. I've
always got 10,000 projects in my mind, and as a result of that, I'll never do most of them. But one thing that I've always wanted to do would be an interview show and bring people like that on. Bring agorists on. Bring people who are out there doing it on.
A little more here from the story from upnorthlive.com. She says, so people are staying home and staying safe, and that's good, but we must keep it up. When we do, we can save lives and shorten the amount of time we're working through this crisis.
I imagine people have issues with keeping it up around her.
And what she means is not working through this crisis because most people aren't allowed to.
Yeah, fuck that. That is...
She says, which will be good for our families and good for our economy in the long run. Lady, I don't think you know anything about what's good for the economy. You know what's good for your political future, but that's about it.
In human families, in case you didn't know, madam, the primary thing that breaks them up
is
poverty and money issues.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's true.
And and that can be at any level. If her expectation is caviar, then not having caviar can be enough to break up the marriage. And the same way if the money flows the other way. And you're
going to see a lot of that too. Plus, drug addiction is going to come back in a lot of people's lives who maybe they had kicked their addiction. Now they don't have anything but time on their hands. And there's probably that that picking at their brain that they could be doing whatever it was that they used to do. Maybe they will fall back under its folds. And then, of course, we've seen the suicide numbers are already on the up.
How much what percentage are they up?
Well, we know that the calls to the suicide hotlines are up. And in Tennessee,
they're up 300%, is my understanding.
Depends on where, but they're up.
Or they were at one place in time.
They're up in different places, but they're up. Yeah. And in Tennessee this week, or I guess it was news from last week, that there were more suicide deaths from suicide than there were deaths from COVID.
Yeah.
Already.
And, we'd have to look at that number to see if it represented an uptick from prior numbers, because normally suicide kills more people than COVID is predicted to kill, even by the super alarmists.
I think you're going to see it go up, though. I think
I expect you will, too. People are losing their businesses, their homes, their families, their ability to pay rent, and their self-respect.
She says, we can also protect critical infrastructure workers like doctors, nurses, grocery store employees, and childcare workers. Now more than ever, it's crucial that people stay home and stay safe. Under the new order, according to Up North Live, all businesses and operations are prohibited from requiring workers to leave their homes unless those workers are necessary to sustain or protect life. So now they've gone beyond, quote, essential. Right, so essential was a larger definition that could have included a variety of things, including news media and the groceries, the convenience store clerk, and all kinds of things. There's people in the construction industry, for instance, that are considered to be essential. There's a long list in New Hampshire, but now it's only those who are so-called workers that are necessary to sustain or protect life.
Okay, I'm going to go into minarchist mode for a moment and just say that whether or not these orders are good or bad, there are some of them that will certainly not survive constitutional muster. And
probably most of them wouldn't.
One of them will be if they arrest a priest for being out doing his rounds. That's not going to work.
They already have.
If they, I suspect that if those arrests are fought, and I hope they will be, that they will lose in the Supreme Court, because one of the things that Trump has done, some of the things have been bad, but he has moved the court toward the right. which means more Christianity. And, there are certainly very religious people. There are religious traditions that would be forbidden to quarantine.
Oh, dude,
as I understand
it, it's Easter weekend.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even not just religious traditions, but what have become secular religious traditions almost, the Easter egg hunts. Those aren't going to be happening. Remember going out egg hunting as a kid? Not happening this year.
And that's the thing, is what this guy is saying, this biologist that I saw, or well, there's two guys. There's a biologist and and the email guy. The email guy is saying that it's the children that you want to catch it because they are resilient as shit from respiratory viruses. So basically, they'll have a little bit, but their bodies will kill it easily.
Now, maybe there will be a few churches that will buck the trend. I mean, we did see the guy in Tampa got arrested for holding services. There's one particularly defiant guy in Louisiana.
Do you want to do an Easter service at the freaking... maybe the Church of the Invisible Hand will put one on.
Where would you want to do it?
I guess at the former SLAP, if the denizens thereof were happy with it.
Yeah, you'd have to check on that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could go elsewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And we don't actually celebrate Easter itself because we're not a Christian denomination. But the thing is, Easter is also spring solstice.
That's right.
And that's a natural event. And it's definitely, to me, something worth celebrating. The equinox and the solstice. Not even so much celebrating that is happening, but celebrating that we know.
Well, and I would...
That we know that means that something's at right angles, and that it does mean something in terms of the service and the harvest and nature, or in terms of the harvest and in terms of nature. It means that, we've passed our most distant point from the sun, and we're moving back towards it. So good news for people who like worms.
Yes, this is true. And I will say this, I'm not a Christian personally, but I will stand with my Christian brothers who are refusing to obey these governor's orders. I mean,
how about we bring in a dozen hookers and have a fertility rate?
I don't know if the Christian guys would would really appreciate it. But.
Well, that's true. We might want to have a non-orgy room for them.
Yeah. But what I was saying, though, is that it's these Christian pastors who've really made a splash, at least in the media. Now, maybe there's some others doing it. There was that large Jewish funeral in New York City that got broken up by the police with hundreds of Hasidic Jews in the streets. That was amazing. And then there's also this Louisiana pastor who's already been arrested once for holding services, who continues to go out and hold services, and he's saying that he's going to have an Easter service, and he's expecting 1,000 people at it this weekend. So kudos to them.
Well, I'll tell you, if I can find a fucking financial backer, I may go preach at a parking lot somewhere just to say I'm out here preaching. And let them stop me. Of course, I'll be preaching, Robert Heinlein and Adam Smith. But
there's plenty of people out shopping. By the way, I was at Walmart the other day, and the parking lot had a bunch of cars in it. Now they weren't technically they were restricting the number of people in the store, but they hadn't gotten to that level, so they weren't stopping anyone from coming in. But they got a guy up front with a clipboard and a two-way radio, and whenever there's a certain number of people that are in the store, he will then stop people from coming in. So they hadn't reached that level yet. And I've heard it's like 20% of what their normal amount is, but they haven't said what the exact number is. I actually asked him, and he said he wasn't at liberty to say what that number was. But that's happening. But there were plenty of people in that parking lot. So if you did want to preach in a parking lot, there would be people there, unlike, say, Central Square, where there's probably not going to be that many people around. But let me go on here. So we're talking about what this Governor Whitmer in Michigan is saying. All business and operations are prohibited from requiring workers to leave their homes unless those workers are, quote, necessary to sustain or protect life. Businesses and operations are to designate the workers who meet those criteria and must adopt social distancing practices and other mitigation measures to protect workers and patrons in the performance of that in-person work. Now, look, if that's what a business wants to do, fine. but I don't think that anyone should be forced to adopt social distancing. If an owner feels like they want to do it because their employees or their customers would want it, and I think that's why a lot of businesses are doing it, because they feel like that's what the majority of people are looking for.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. But the importance, and that's what businesses are supposed to do. Yep. The thing is, they're not all supposed to do the same thing.
Right.
Like, there's people like you and me who are not looking to wait in line to go into the grocery store. Right. We're looking to go in, get our shit, and get the fuck out.
Yeah, and I'll go and bring my business to any store that has that policy.
Exactly, and that's what the free market is supposed to provide, where one group makes a living off catering to one group of people. Another group of people wants a different set of things. They go to a different business, and they never even have to interact with the people who do it the way that they don't like. You know, that would be the beauty of a free market response to this.
And the government is taking that away. Under the new order, all public and private gatherings among persons outside a single household remain temporarily prohibited, though Michiganders may leave the house to get groceries or needed supplies. The new order encourages people to limit the number of household members running errands to the maximum extent possible. So what they're saying is...
Encourage this dick.
What they're saying is if you've got, like, kids, don't bring them when you go to the store. They're saying only one person from the household, essentially, should be leaving to go and get things from, the grocery store.
See, okay, for one thing, that's not safe, especially with the streets empty. I would not send my wife out to the grocery store alone if I were in a high crime area with or without the virus.
Right.
So fuck that right there. I mean,
now I don't know when it
now
says.
I might go alone and just have her tell me what to do by cell phone, but I'm not very good at following instructions. So
me neither, man.
It's better if we both go.
When a woman sends me to the store,
I'll help her carry what she needs me to help her carry, and other than that, I just go into. I write code in my head, and then I just do what I'm told as a Waldo for the rest of my body.
Yeah, I'm looking here at the actual order to see if I can find where it's supposedly encouraging people to stay home. This is a lengthy order. It's like 10 pages long or whatever.
Yeah, well, it may be one of those things. Jimmy Dore was on Joe Rogan's show, and Joe Rogan says to him, "Can I ask you about this?" And Jimmy Dore just says, "Yes." So they may be encouraging us in that fashion by saying that they're encouraging us.
So they're taking away short-term vacation properties for rent as well, according to this.
And people need that. And hey, guess what? If you want to get away from New York City because you're immunocompromised, where's a good place to go? A short-term rental property in a rural area.
But that's one of the reasons why they're doing it. So what they're saying is that, in fact, Sununu, the governor here in New Hampshire, His Excellency, as he's referred to in the the orders, he has limited RV and short-term rentals. No, he didn't do RV. He did hotels and Airbnbs. So those are shut down, except for if you're a so-called essential worker. You can, if you're a so-called essential, you can rent a hotel room, but everybody else is not allowed to. And their specific reason that he was being asked to do this is to keep New Yorkers out of New Hampshire.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
And the thing is, we should be taking their money, and we should be taking the immunity that we gain from interacting with them. Because personally, my goal is if I'm going to get this, I want to get it right now.
Yeah.
Well, the economy is screwed, and then I want to be able to work freely when it's over. But I'll be damned if I'll take one of Bill Gates' fucking certificates. That definitely... he's talking about actually shooting people up with a virus that or with a vaccine that contains a digital signature, so they can scan to see if you've had it.
Yeah, there's some really scary proposals out there in that area.
It's like, as a computer programmer, I'm just saying, what could possibly go wrong? What if somebody figures out how to hack these things and make them all bunch up in one place in the body?
Scary.
Yeah, I mean, no, and made by fucking Microsoft. They can't make a goddamn PC work. These bitches aren't even running Linux, although if they ever get them into me, I'm hacking mine and changing the operating system. I'm fucking porting Linux to these bitches. So if I have to have them, I can at least have them running something I trust.
Yeah, Microsoft plus Pfizer plus the government doesn't sound like a particularly good combo.
Oh my God! It's like the fucking it's like the Council of Chaos or something.
So she talks about all the different outdoor activities that are still going to be allowed in Michigan. You can still
allowed.
Yeah, you can still walk, you can hike, you can run, cycle, kayak, canoe, or any other recreational activity consistent with remaining at least 6 feet from people from outside a person's household, and with other restrictions imposed by prior
So if you're
orders.
fat and you're not in a place in your fitness where you can go out and do those most strenuous things, you can't work up to it by walking around the block, which if there's anything people should be using this time for, it's self-improvement. And I say that as a complete hypocrite on the issue because I've literally gone into jail mode and started sleeping 20 hours a day, which I don't like and I have to change.
I don't think that they're going to say you can't walk around the block, at least at this point. It looks really bad when they tell people they're not allowed to exercise, so I don't think that would happen. Usually the orders that refer to staying 6 feet away usually have terms like whenever possible around it.
But you know when that shit will happen because that's where it falls into officer discretion. Yeah. And officer discretion generally comes down to two things. How much
black?
Do I like his kind?
Yeah.
And how much has he kissed my ass?
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it could definitely be enforced in a different way in a black neighborhood, for instance, in certain places.
Yeah, or an anarchist neighborhood. Yeah. I don't, I mean, in Keene, the cops give me a wide berth. Yeah. In Manchester, they don't know me very well and randomly falsely arrest me. So that's irritating when that happens.
A new section of the order imposes restrictions on stores in an effort to reduce crowds. Large stores must limit the number of people in the store at one time to no more than 4 customers for every 1,000 square foot of customer floor space. Small stores must limit capacity to 25% of the total occupancy limits under the fire codes. To regulate entry, stores must establish lines with markings for patrons to enable them to stand at least 6 feet apart from one another while waiting.
What if we sued... I'm sorry, I'm brainstorming a little bit. I'm high. What if we sued Sununu and said, we're going to open up a business selling soap?
Would you have standing to sue the actor, or would you have to sue the state of New Hampshire?
I would probably sue everybody and let the courts sort it out.
All right, let me hear the pitch on this suit.
The pitch on the suit is we want to operate a business and you don't have any right to stop us.
Okay, but you said selling soap, so they would just say, well, that's essential.
Okay, so find something not essential. Make a gathering place and serve beer and let people gather there for consolation. You know,
they definitely will come after you for serving beer.
Okay.
But that's a whole other story. That's just violating the liquor dicks.
So let's sue them on that. We're a fucking church. If we think that beer helps, then we should be able to serve beer.
Can we get some libertarian attorneys up in here? I mean, we really need some more of those guys.
We really do, but the thing is, you don't necessarily need an attorney who agrees with you. You need an attorney who knows how to pay off the judge, okay? So what you want to find is the Better Call Saul. I don't care if he's a stinking communist. As a matter of fact, there are some communists who I would love to have as an attorney. For example, there was a Jewish communist who protected, who fought for the right of the KKK to march through the Jewish community of Skokie, Illinois.
Yep.
I want that guy on my payroll, even though he and I disagree on a lot, and he's by no means, I'm sure, a libertarian. I would love to have him. So the question is, who's the Saul Goodman of First Amendment attorneys? Because I want an attorney who's got larceny in his soul. And you can't tell me there are no attorneys out there with larceny in their soul that wouldn't be willing, if we were willing. I mean, we might have to pay the lawyer to do it as opposed to having a contingent free. But maybe we could get 50% pro bono for being a really fun argument to make.
It could happen. I mean, there are some really great attorneys out there. John Mayer, of course, is an excellent example.
Let's call him. He doesn't usually do church work, but we tell him that this is both. This is freedom of religion, but it's also free speech because we're protesting our inability to do it.
He is a free speech guy. There's no doubt about it. And,
let's get John Mayer on the line.
I suspect that attorneys are also looking for some work right now, right? Like, everybody's out of work.
I mean, the first thing we might have to fight is we might have to go federal just to get the courts to hear the suit. Okay?
Well, no, they'll hear
it,
but you may have to fight to have them open the courtroom so people can go and watch.
In that case, we should argue that the whole thing should be done on videotape. Every communication should be broadcast.
Well, that was how they tried to get around having an audience in the case that the attorney who is a free stater, Dan Hines, former state rep, he brought the case against the state of New Hampshire for the gathering ban. You remember that one from a few weeks ago that he lost?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a hearing that they supposedly put online for people to watch because they closed the courtroom.
No, did they put it online?
I don't know. I was told that WMUR received the video that way, so I don't know if it was open to the public or just WMUR.
What I would argue for is let's do the entire trial as a Google Hangout. Let's all be in different rooms, so there's literally no back channel conversation, and let's broadcast every word of this trial live as it goes out. And we know it's being broadcast live because seeing that live broadcast is the only thing the judge has to respond to. If he's speaking along, then the broadcast is good.
Wait, you're saying we wouldn't be in the courtroom?
Exactly.
Oh, I see.
Exactly. And that way, we're forcing all communication over a broadcast channel. There's no place to hide anything. And if they say, well, we're going to have the prosecutor in the same room as the judge, you say, no, we object. We want every communication between the prosecutor and the judge to be public, just like everything else we say. So, okay, they've gone too far in one way. Let's get something good out of holding them to their word. And there's an infinite number of ways that we can bust their balls, okay, that we can make them do absurd things. There's all kinds of fun we can have if we find the right lawyer. And if you're out there and you're a retired lawyer, you're the guy I want most.
Yeah.
Okay,
because you're not on the bar.
Because you're not under their pay anymore.
Right.
You don't get any privilege from the bar anymore, and you're the guy I want. So if you know somebody like this, post this recording to their wall.
Because you can still, in New Hampshire, you can represent another person without being a member of the bar.
Yes, you can, and then you're risking nothing.
It's called attorney in fact, right? I believe.
Yeah, I believe so. The other thing is, if you're a paralegal, if you are an autodidact that studied the legal system, if you've got crazy legal theories you want to run by the people who are interested in this, let's form a fucking group. And I'm speaking now to a future audience as much as a live audience, but let's form a group somewhere, maybe on Keybase. Okay, let's form a Keybase team, and let's start working on getting on building lawsuits and building them by just, if you throw enough spaghetti at the wall, some of it's bound to stick, okay? So we're each filing our own lawsuit against our own state and federal government, okay? Pro se. I'm making this up as I go along, by the way, but we do it pro se, okay? But we help each other, and we hire retired employees, because that means that for every you that you throw into the mix, the government has to throw an equal amount of lawyer into the mix.
Yeah.
So you're costing them $300 right there, but that $300 lawyer comes with a $150 an hour assistant and a $5,000 a month office has got to be paid for.
Well, the city of Keene threw like $100,000 at least at the Robin Hood case. So I mean, they certainly have plenty of money to throw at that shit.
And that's a measure of our victory.
I tend to agree.
That's a measure of our victory. What we need to do, though, is suborn a lawyer and get him to specialize in defending governments against us and losing.
Well, there's a conspiracy theory that the city of Keene wanted to lose the Robin Hood case.
Well, the thing is, that's not impossible, and I mean, conspiracy theory is
because then they wouldn't have to.
Loaded fucking term. It's a bullshit term.
Well, it's a theory then. How about that? Then the idea is then they wouldn't have to pay out on the claims.
Whenever you say conspiracy theory in a derisive tone, you're basically saying that politicians don't conspire to oppress us, and we know that politicians conspire to oppress us.
Well, in this case, it wasn't derisive. I wasn't trying to say it in a derisive tone.
It sounds that way when people say conspiracy theorist, and I don't like that, because there are real conspiracies going on.
In this
case,
they
just don't involve lizard Jews.
The theory doesn't have anything to do with their attack on the individual. It has to do with them, the government gang, wanting to not have to pay claims against them by their own employees. So the idea was that their employees were supposedly being threatened and intimidated by the Robin Hooders. Who are these people? For the listeners that don't know, this is people who are filling parking meters. The Robin Hooders.
And even though we all know it was bullshit, and maybe even the city knew it was bullshit, they needed it proved in court that it was bullshit.
Exactly. And then to them, spending
that
$100,000
sounds like perfectly reasonable realpolitik, because they would have spent, if they had been defending separate claims, they would have had to pay to defend 4 different claims.
Yep.
And that's more expensive than letting us defend against one claim by them and win.
Yep.
Because we have to put the effort into that.
I think it's a good theory.
We pay the attorney.
I think it was Boner Joe or Jay Freeville, a.k.a. Camel Toe, who came up with that.
And the other thing is, it gives them political shade in that there were people coming up to them. There were authoritarians coming up to them in the streets.
What are you doing
and
about
saying,
this?
why don't you do something about this? And now they can say, we can't. They beat us every time we take them to court. They're in the right is more or less, from a status point of view, what it means. You know, and that's kind of amazing that they confess that.
Wait, I don't think they confess that.
Well, the thing is, they do by their actions, because if their actions say what the court says is right, okay, then that means that every time we beat them, we're right.
They will not say it that way.
They will not say it that way, but it's implicit in 2 of the major tenets of their philosophy, the first of which being the courts are always right, and the second one being we respect the courts. Well, if they keep going to war with us and losing when they're wrong, then they don't respect the court, do they?
Well, that's all part of the game.
Yeah.
So,
it's all tied up in the political mess.
Yeah. A little bit more here from Governor Whitmer in Michigan. So we're talking about the increased restrictions that they're bringing down on the good people of Michigan, the poor people of Michigan.
We should do capitalist protests where it's like, okay, you have a token. Every time somebody shows up at the protest, they get a token for being there, okay, that we can create out of thin air. And basically what the government has to do to have us stop protesting is buy up all those tokens.
Okay. You should do that.
I think it would work. It's a crazy thing to do, but
Sometimes that's what it takes.
As a Bitcoin Cash token, where the token costs literally nothing to produce, it's just a gimmick, but it's a cool gimmick.
Large stores must also close areas of the store that are dedicated to carpeting, flooring, furniture, garden centers, plant nurseries, or paint. So if you thought you were going to spend your quarantine time, getting some shit done, like around the house.
The thing you should be doing to keep yourself from going crazy like me.
And did you see the photos or there was at least one photo. Now, whether it was real or not, I don't know, but it was being advertised as though it was, of what was ostensibly a shot from a Walmart in Vermont after the Vermont government had put down a restriction on stores saying, now you can only sell essential items. If you don't put
gardening shit isn't among it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So they actually had a sign up over the seeds area of the store that said that this is not essential and you can't buy this stuff.
And I'll tell you, if you encounter that, you go and you tell them that you're a member of the Church of the Invisible Hand and that your religion requires you to follow your calling and to garden in a depression because that's one of the things you do in depressions. And you give us a call and you give them this fucking recording and you give us a fucking call if they don't answer. I got a few, the church has a few fucking grand that I would throw at a fucking lawsuit because my people should be out there gardening. If you believe in the invisible hand of nature, you should be out there gardening.
There's actually another photograph here. I had not seen this one yet. Baraka66 posted it right now on our Discord at discord.lrn.fm, showing a large seeds display from Walmart with tape across the front of it with a sign on it saying, sorry, you can't buy this. Attention customers, sorry for the inconvenience. This area is temporarily closed. So really just sad stuff. And right here in this governor's statement is that if you have a section, literally, the garden center and plant nurseries are being closed off in Michigan, according to this cunt.
Steal that shit. Steal that shit if they won't sell it. Fuck them.
Well, I mean, I don't advocate for stealing, but...
I don't advocate for stealing either. Leave money.
That's a good idea.
Steal it and leave money on the fucking shelf. Just jack that shit and walk the fuck out.
That would be an interesting case, wouldn't it? If you grabbed a bunch of seeds,
make it seeds. Make it something that's essential.
Yeah, that's what they're banning here.
They're
the seed
crazy
section.
Fucking people. The other thing is, we should all be getting on the phone and calling that Walmart manager.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
Karen the Karens.
Right.
Tell him he's a piece of fucking shit. Show him just make his life miserable until he declares on his personal authority that these are essential items.
And so what I was going to say, though, it would be interesting as far as like a legal case, right? If you go up to the front of a Walmart, the customer service counter, or just one of the cashiers or whatever, you go to the seed section here. I'm looking at the price, $3.74 for a pack of seeds. You buy however many you want. Make sure you include enough for whatever taxes or whatever. Pay them more. Just make sure you lay down enough cash. Don't worry about the change, right? You're just going to lay down enough cash to more than cover the amount of what they want to charge for those seeds, and then you walk out the door with it. Are they going to start shouting at you? Are they going to call the police on you? What is the crime there in that particular case?
It's really, I mean, they advertised it for sale. Maybe it didn't go through the normal social conventions. The thing that I would want to do, I mean, the best way to do it would be just to call an employee over and hand him an envelope. Okay, he's not going to know why the fuck you gave him an envelope. Maybe you're deaf mute. He has to open the envelope to find out. Okay, as he's be near a door when you do this. Okay, when he opens the envelope and he sees that there's money in it, you're already out the door.
Right.
And he has to figure out whether or not he should stop you. I think you're going to get away with that.
Man.
I think you have no intent to break the law. You have intent to break a tyrannical order, and there's a competing harms claims to be made that you're not growing food is worse than you making a so-called non-essential purpose, according to these motherfuckers.
I wonder if this has been done in New Hampshire Hampshire. I feel like we would have heard about it if it had, so I'm hoping this has not happened in New Hampshire yet. But it does make me kind of want to go to Walmart and just kind of poke around and see if they've done this.
Honestly, still,
and I think it would make
it
a crazy video, too. Think about it. If they came after you and they were like, sir, we can't take this money from you. We need to have those seeds back. I mean, to get that on video would be absolutely nuts.
All right. And I just had a vision. of the Order of Mal. And those of you who've watched Firefly, you know who Mal is. Well, the Order of Mal is the order of a fucking pirate. And if there's something essential like fucking guns and ammo and food and seeds and you know where it is, and it's not being sold because of a government order, then take it and be willing to pay damages to the owner of the property. Be willing to pay damages, but fucking take it, because it's better to...
But what would the damages be? I don't know.
You could break into...
Would the government... Hold on. Would the government have the ability to punish the store owner for not tackling you on the way out the store? I mean, there's only so much they can do.
These people are not law enforcement. The only thing they could do is post police there and have the police tackle you.
Yeah.
But they cannot press, or at least there's no precedent for them pressing store personnel into service as law enforcement.
They can definitely tell somebody to leave the store.
For example, they can't prosecute a liquor store because a kid is shoplifting liquor, even if he's under 21. There's no charge in the store for that. Except in some cases where people under 21 can't be inside.
Camel Toe says in our Discord chat, he says that, he says, to what we're talking about doing, he says, then you get banned from Walmart. That would suck. They will trespass your ass like nothing.
And I'll sue them and say they were discriminating against me religiously because my religion says you have to plant seeds.
What if you had a matter of
fact, if you want seeds and you can get to Keene, you buy them and the Pope will go in there. You give me some money, the Pope will go in there and give the fucking manager what for, and then they can ban me from fucking Walgreens or Walmart, and they can go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
And I will sue them to their skivvies for religious discrimination because I have no fucking compulsion anymore.
Well,
nobody gives a fuck. They don't care what liberty they take from me. I don't care about using their bullshit system and biting them in the fucking balls with it.
Camelto says, do it at one where you never shop, LOL. But the thing is, they can actually ban you chain-wide from Walmart because they've got cameras and they can do facial identification to ban you from all Walmarts.
And every time they move, every time they take an action against me, gives me an opportunity to put them on blast for fucking busting my balls for seeds.
They will have you take your mask off to be photographed for their AI face recognition systems, or they will call their cops. But that is a good argument, nobody. LOL.
And actually wear a mask. Don't let them get good facial recognition.
How are they going to ban you if they don't know you?
Complain about the mask.
Yeah.
Wear a bandana. People do that. I got bandanas. I've worn them across my face when I didn't want people to know who the fuck I was.
And now that's normal. Now it's normal to come into a store with your face obscured.
Exactly. So I'm surprised I haven't seen black bloc action in this. And I don't generally encourage the black bloc. But the black bloc they're different. They're anarchists, but they're a different kettle of fish from us. They're not the same kettle of fish. But... you know, at this point, I'm thinking the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And the thing is, corporate America has completely joined with the government to do this. This is not a free market economy. You know that those stores are accepting political favors from behind the scenes for not suing over this shit. You know, they're in on the gag. It's the military, industrial, regulatory, media, big business complex, and there is much to blame. I'm a capitalist, but I'm not an apologist for big business for being big. And fuck them. We need to just abolish the corporate form.
Now, there is an interesting claim here in our Twitch chat from a little earlier tonight. American Psycho says that Texas and Idaho are supposed to open up next week. So I don't know how far they will be opening up, but I'm interested in hearing more about that particular story. So if that's true, then kudos to them. The final statement from the Michigan bitch, who thinks she knows how best to run your life, Ms. Whitmer, says, quote, "This doesn't mean everything will go back to normal on May 1st. But based on the data we have right now, this is the appropriate window for an extension. It'll take time to safely and responsibly reopen the economy," meaning we need to control this completely. We, the government, we know which industries should come back and when, rather than just letting people make decisions for themselves about how to run their business and how to run their lives. It's complete micromanagement, complete authoritarianism, and Americans seem to have just lapped it up.
It's amazing if you reflect that 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago or whenever, I've lost track of time, but I think I'm going to have a vision. I think I'm going to smoke some DMT and have a vision
Hell
tonight.
Yeah.
But because I'm already, my life is so surreal now.
Yeah.
But it's...
Yeah, I wake up every day like, all right, now what? What's next?
Yeah, and the thing is, a month ago, the biggest open-air prison in the world was the Gaza Strip. Mm-hmm. Look at it on a map. It's tiny. Now the whole world is an open-air prison, and we only get to leave our cells when we're going out to serve up the slop to the prisoners, and when we're cleaning the jail, and when we're doing exactly the things that are called essential services, the things that even the government knows it can't deprive us of without a riot. Okay.
Yep.
It's fucking, the world has become what Alex Jones would call a prison planet.
Yep.
Literally. And they did it by turning the whole world into a fucking prison camp. Not by walling one up, you know.
And they did
but
it to
you
the
know where
applause of
people
the
are
inmates.
moving around freely. You know where they're getting as close to each other as they want to. You look at the fucking pictures of these assholes signing these orders, and they're bunched up. They're up each other's fucking asses because they know it's bullshit.
That's true. Yeah, somebody pointed that out with like one of the pictures of Trump doing his thing in the Oval Office with like at least 3 or 4 guys standing right next to each other, right behind him.
Look at the picture of this fucking cunt signing her order, and what you're gonna see is she was surrounded by people. She was surrounded by people. They were all up in her shit. You know, because they share the same children after work, you know, so they don't really have to worry.
Yeah, I didn't see that photo, but I totally believe you. It wasn't in this particular
story. And Epstein
story.
Didn't fucking kill himself, in case you assholes haven't figured that out.
Yeah.
Okay? 9/11 may or may not have been an inside job, but they're lying through their fucking teeth. Okay? Everything they tell us is bullshit.
Sure is.
And when they bring us into harmony, they do it by doing something fucking horrible to us and putting it on somebody else. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. Okay? And I don't know if I don't know where the disease came from, but I know this. I know that what they're doing to us is worse than the disease.
Yep.
It will kill more people than the disease. That's a fucking prophecy.
That's a fact.
And I stand behind it.
That's a fact. I mean, how couldn't it? Look at the economic damage that has come from this already, that we're just starting to experience, with tremendous numbers of people going on unemployment and losing their jobs or being furloughed and not being able to pay the rent. Just last night we talked about 1/3 of American renters did not pay the April rent or were late. Now that's up. Normally it's like 20%.
I'm going to call on the state government to do their fair share toward alleviating the rent issue by
waiving
holding all property tax in abeyance and requesting that, and as a matter of fact,
they should waive it.
They should waive it. Okay.
If they had any humanity, if they actually cared about these people they claim to care about.
And they should ask the landlord to then distribute a portion, a pro ratio share of that to himself, and a pro ratio share to his tenants. Because that's the one tax that we're all paying is the land value tax.
It's a huge chunk of, at least in New Hampshire, a good chunk of any given renter's rent is going to property taxes.
Absolutely. So let's cut that rent. I mean, what do you okay, I don't want to drag you through your finances on the air, but how does that math work out for me as your renter?
Oh, I don't know, but I will say this: the taxes on this house are like $8,000 a year. I pay 4 or 5 times the taxes on a house similar value as what I paid down in Florida. I mean, it's a crazy difference.
Well, of course, Florida had a lot of other taxes that we don't have. So I mean, I paid property tax in Florida, and it was outrageous. But
in Florida, also was a fraction of what it is here. Fraction.
Well, theft is outrageous, even if it's very small.
No doubt.
Comparatively. But then there was also
they had a sales tax, but I didn't buy that much
state property tax on all property that I was supposed to pay.
Nobody
I never
paid that
did.
One.
Yeah,
or no one did.
Maybe nobody paid it, but nobody's still pissed about it. Because technically I think I should have, so I had to experience that fear, because that was before my wife died and I was still afraid.
Right.
Basically once my wife died, it was like, fuck, they can't do nothing to me now.
Right.
I had worse. It's just flesh wound.
Here's a little short one for you, and then we're going to wrap this up because we got to get down to the third weekly nightcap here in Keene, which has been happening the last few weeks. It's 11:59 at night Eastern Time. We are joining others in Central Square. I heard there's a guy from Manchester who's planning on coming out this week.
Nice.
So at least one
you
guy.
Don't have to be a libertarian. You don't have to know us to come out. I'm going to try and get this video recording on public access TV in Keene, and this is a thing that we're going to be doing every week. So if you're watching this
you
in
can
the
do
middle
that
of
because
the
we
night,
don't have advertisements on this show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The only thing we do have is, you might want to look at www.electnobody.com. And if you enjoyed the show, send me a gift at that website, because those aren't campaign contributions. Those are monies that I am paid for speaking truth to power. They're tips. I don't pay tax on them. I won't pay tax on them. You want taxes on them? Molen Labe, because it's the service of the fucking church.
If you want taxes on them,
irritated
you pay the taxes.
Tonight.
I love it, man.
I'm fucking pissed.
You're fired up, and we should be fired up about this shit. This is the craziest shit I've ever been through as far as how people are behaving.
The founding fathers would be stacking bodies. They fought a revolution in the middle of a fucking smallpox epidemic.
Well, people are not ready. They don't want to revolve anything. They don't want to fight back. Most Americans are just taking it. They're
Nobody
over,
wants to be first. Everybody's waiting for a great leader to rise up and to be first.
Nobody's
and to
a great
organize, leader. Well, holy shit. But I say nobody should lead you. So I say stop waiting for a fucking leader and be one in your house, be one in your community, be one on your social media, because nobody can lead you but you.
Somebody has to stand up and take the lead. That's the way humans work.
Yeah.
Ammon Bundy deserves a lot of credit out in Idaho. He is stirring it up out there.
And I'll tell you what, if he were in New Hampshire, I'd be at his place.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd be saying, let's do another armed standoff.
Yeah.
And I don't give a fuck. I'm a felon, but I will be out there. And if they try to process me as my for being a felon in possession of a firearm, I'm going to cite the fucking right to revolution, which is there in the New Hampshire Constitution.
Unfortunately, it'll be cited citing
if
it from
you're
prison,
a free
but...
stater and you're not here yet, you should be here because this is the place to be when the shit hits the fan.
Now's the time.
And if you're not a free stater, join the Live Free or Die Project. Join the Shire Society. We got competing motherfuckers up in this bitch.
Get up
but
in
we're
here.
all trying to move you here to back us up.
I mean, really.
And no matter how irritated we may be about each other over the historic details of our utopia,
what other people do, don't
I
guarantee
guarantee when we're fighting against the government, we're going to be united.
Well, even if we aren't, I mean, because look, there's already a division within the liberty movement over this whole situation. There's a schism over the COVID-19 response, where there was a fair number of people who were protesting this week's New Movers Party because it was happening. But
the thing is, they had every right to protest it. What they didn't do is call the cops. So that means they're on our side. We have every right to say we're doing it. They have every right to say they're wrong. That protest, that conflict, it makes good radio. People listen to us fighting. Okay, so let's fight the principled fights between us. Because as Milton Friedman was,
I don't want to fight with these people. I don't want to. I'm going to go out and do my thing and be free.
I want to fight with them with my mind.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to have honest fucking debates with these people. Let's get on fucking Google Hangouts and let's debate the things that divide us. And let's find some real bottom unity. Let's find the minimum amount that we require from each other to let each other live in peace.
I mean, I'm not telling you not to do it, but
that's okay, because if you did, I'd do it anyway. Fuck you. I won't do what you tell me.
Whatever I want to do, rather than spend my time trying to convince or have a debate with these people. These are people who want to just talk shit.
I want to be able to do what I want to do, and that's more important than...
It doesn't matter how they feel about what you want to do. You can do it.
So why bother spending time on them? Because God favors large armies, and that's a prophecy of the church. If your army is large, God will favor you. If you are well-armed, God will favor you. If you if you fight intelligently, God will favor you, because God is nature, and that's what the laws of God and the laws of nature require.
But the fact is, if you want to have a larger group of people, you're better off attracting them to you than you are fighting with the ones who want to fight with you.
You see, what I'm aiming to do is to attract people to me by drawing a peace treaty between the various segments of the bottom. So the question isn't, what would you have to what would the conditions be for me to tolerate a narco-communism taking over in Keene, New Hampshire? Well, the thing that would be required for me to be willing to tolerate that would be the existence of an ANCAP community I could move to. Okay? So you tolerate our existence and we'll tolerate your existence. Okay? Because the price of tolerance is always tolerance. You cannot expect tolerance from people you're making war on. Okay?
No doubt.
Can't make a war on drugs and expect us not to hate you and not to fight you, because what you're making war on is real human beings. Well, the same thing applies to the war on seeds, to the war on unvaccinated children, to the war on everything the government wages war on. We need to get all the victims of those wars on the same side. And if they nationalize Starbucks in Seattle, I don't give a fuck. Those guys aren't my friends. They're not paying me for security. I think it would be hilarious.
All right, we're out of time, so we're going to get ready for the nightcap here tonight that starts up in less than a half an hour. Nobody's on fire. I love it.
Mad as the sea and wind when each contends which is the mightier.
Signal.
Oh, I got one more quote I want to... For those of you who think it's time to start moving, who think it's time to start acting and stop whining, I say, we few, we happy few, we band of brothers, for he today who sheds his blood with me shall be my brother, be he ne'er so vile. This day shall gentle his condition, and gentlemen in England, now abed, will think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, when any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's Day.
Oh, yeah. That's Nobody. Check him out at likenobody.com. Footmatic says he hates this anti-social distancing. I agree. I think it is very anti-social.
We should have a holy fucking orgy.
You can do whatever you want, my man.
A holy fucking orgy. The show won't die. Okay, I'm back. We should have a holy fucking orgy for the faithful who have faith that if nature gives them the disease and they die, they were supposed to, and if they don't die, they were supposed to get it and get better. So it's all good.
I think I'll keep
Come back to nature, baby.
I think I'll keep it to free hugs, but you know what? You do what you want, my man.
Well, the thing is, I've been trying to find a way to kickstart the Order of Inara, which is an order of temple prostitutes. And, you know, if I could get a bunch of porn stars in on this thing, then that would be a great piece of publicity. Even if I had to participate, I'd try and stay out. Because, you know, like, I'm 51, so, you know, I like to do it, but that doesn't mean anybody want to see it.
Right. If they want to, there is a video out there, from what I understand.
Yeah, we're not promoting that.
Signal is warning that an anti-encryption bill circulating in Congress could force the private messaging app to pull out of the U.S. market.
You know, I'm so tempted to upload that video to the next person who, because social justice warriors will call me a transphobe sometimes.
Oh, really?
And
Here,
I really
this.
want to fucking upload that video when they do that.
So Signal is looking at possibly bailing on the U.S. market if the Earn It Act goes into effect, proposed by Senate Judiciary Committee, threatens to put them at risk, writes one of their developers. The goal of the legislation, which has bipartisan support, is to stamp out online child exploitation. It does so by letting the U.S. government regulate how internet companies should combat the problem, even if it means undermining end-to-end encryption, protecting your messaging from snoops. I don't understand why Signal would pull out of the market. I don't know if that means they wouldn't sell or they wouldn't give out their APK, or would they just remove all their programmers from the United States? So we'll see how this develops.
Well, it would mean probably that people in the United States wouldn't get technical support. They might try to block out people coming from the United States, and that might require us to use VPNs and go through Europe. But we should all be using VPNs and going through someplace else anyway, because the government is not your friend and they're watching you.
We will see. Definitely something to keep an eye on here. If they're not based in the United States, then I would say continue to distribute your product in the U.S. because there's nothing they can do about it. And the same thing with Telegram. Why did Telegram respond to the U.S. government's threats by going to court?
Because they have assets that are traceable to them. They can be sued. They're not a blockchain.
No, but they're not in the United States.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter to the United States. The United States will go to another country and illegally kidnap you like they did.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they'll take your shit.
Yeah. That's true.
Asset forfeiture, baby. That's what it's for.
That was Baby Metal's Karate, and we'll wrap it up with Gimme Chocolate. You guys have a great night. We'll be back here tomorrow, 7 o'clock at night Eastern Time, for another episode of Free Talk Live. This was the one that these gals hit it big with. See ya!